Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Flight Simulator 2024 preview video. So, the sim is just about to be released in a couple of weeks' time. Now, I'm very excited for Flight Simulator 2024, and it's definitely my most anticipated game of 2024 at this stage. I've been waiting for this game for a long time now as well. What I want to do is just talk about what I'm looking forward to the most in Flight Simulator 2024. Now, in the background, I'm just going to have one of my previous videos where I went through the career mode. Now, that's going to give you a bit of a hint as to what I think is going to be my most anticipated part of 2024. So, what I think I'm going to enjoy the most is the career mode. The career mode for me is going to be probably my main focus. What I do intend to do is try and work my way through all the progression and all the skills to try and progress into different aircraft, etc., and different specializations, trying out the different mission types as well. Also, I like the idea of being able to build your own airline or company and being able to do transport missions and earn money and reputation, all those kind of things as well. A lot of people think that that's kind of gamifying a simulator experience, but I disagree. And the reason that I disagree with that is because even though it's a guided, structured career in inverted commas mode, you are still simulating, you are still learning how to fly the aircraft, you're still having to follow procedures, you're still going to have to follow ATC, and you're going to have to learn and train and gain skills to be able to perform those different mission types. And that's why I think maybe a lot of people who are overlooking career mode should probably give it just a second thought and maybe think about what benefit it has to learning and understanding different types of aircraft. So, one of the main things that I'm looking forward to, just really purely for the travel around the map and unlocking new areas and airports and missions, is cargo. Now, cargo, also passenger transport as well, I think are going to be really quite interesting. Now, on the like, if you think about it quite basically, it is fairly straightforward. There's not a whole lot to it. It's maybe not as exciting, but you're still flying around like you would in the normal free flight mode. But instead of just flying from, Wick to Fair Isle or from one place to another, what you're actually doing is you are learning different routes. You're going to be flying through different areas that you might not have flown through before. And that's why I think it's going to be one of my most anticipated mission types, or one of my favorite types of or ways of flying in Flight Simulator 2024. Another one that I think I'm really looking forward to is search and rescue. Now, near where I live, there's the Prestwick Airport. Now, in this video, if you've watched it, you would know that I'd mentioned that. Now, that's like the local kind of international airport to where I live. And what that basically means is there's a search and rescue station based there. It's called HMS Gannet, and I believe that's a Royal Navy site. But there is also a HM Coast Guard site there as well. So you frequently see those types of helicopters flying up and down the coast, and I think that being able to just have that in my local area and being able to maybe go and rescue people from one of the ferries that goes to one of the islands, or maybe just a pleasure boat or one of the oil tankers that dock out in that part as well, I think that's going to be really interesting and probably almost infinitely replayable. Now, of course, you're probably going to play the same mission several times and probably get a little bit bored of that one, but the beauty of career mode is that you're going to be able to specialize into different areas, and you can go and do a different mission type to try and maybe refresh your palette a little bit, I guess. And then you can go back to that again at a later point when you feel maybe that it's something you want to try again. Now, there's going to be plenty of different helicopters that you'll be able to use for that mission type. So I've got the Airbus helicopter. I'm not sure about if the Chinook will have that or not, but I know one of the other Airbus helicopters is going to have that as well. So there's going to be a few different types of aircraft to fly, learn, and get experience with as well. I think there's going to be a lot of possibilities with search and rescue, that I think will be pretty exciting. Now, I don't think it'll just be offshore at sea rescues. There'll probably be, if somebody's climbing in the hills, for example, HMS Gannet, I believe, or that kind of search and rescue zone covers not only the Isle of Arran, which you can kind of see here, just off to the west coast, and that has a large mountain. So if someone gets injured on the mountain, maybe a helicopter would need to go and rescue them. Now, on the other side of that, you also have the air ambulance mode, so you'll be able to use a helicopter, presumably, for your air ambulance mode. And I think that, again, is another, just a something that you wouldn't have thought would have been that exciting. But now that you can actually do it, and it's something that's going to be structured, there's going to be some randomization and some kind of procedurality, is that even a word, around that. I think that's what's going to make it so much more enjoyable than it otherwise would have been. So that is definitely one of my favorite things that I'm looking forward to. Now, there's different, career specializations that I think will be fun, and they might be maybe not as enjoyable for me personally, but I'm willing to give them all a try. I really want to try the firefighting mode, and I think that'll be good for using the helicopters, like the Ericsson air crane, and also some of the firefighting aircraft, like the planes, the 747, for example, or the Canadair. I think those are going to be really enjoyable to fly, and just having something to actually do with those aircraft other than just flying them is what is going to make that more enjoyable for me, and where I think I'm actually going to be able to learn a lot more about how each aircraft works individually and the procedures and ways of flying those as well. One other mission type that I'm looking forward to is the glider pilot. Now, I'm really not sure exactly how that's planned to sort of fit into career, so to speak, because I don't really, I can't even imagine really very many possibilities for how you're going to work a glider pilot into a career. Now, maybe you're doing it as like flight seeing, and maybe you're taking up a passenger, or you're taking them up to learn how to fly the aircraft potentially. Maybe it's something like that. Or I guess it could be delivering a glider to an area. So maybe you need to fly it from A to B. Probably something along those lines. Either that, or it's just, take it up in the air and look around and land, and maybe you have to take some photos or something like that. Not 100% sure. Mountain rescue, like I mentioned before, is definitely something that I'm really looking forward to. And I think another exciting one might be aerial construction. I think if you remember back to the one of the original videos for Flight Simulator 2024, when it was teased, I guess, with a trailer, they were building like the pylons, the I'm trying to think of it. The electricity pylons basically in a remote area. So you're flying in part of that with a helicopter and having to help the people construct that. So I think that one's going to be pretty interesting as well, because it's going to take a lot of skill and precision and being able to keep a helicopter stable in the air whilst you've got a massive weight below it that's swinging around and being influenced by the wind and things. I think that's got a lot of potential to be pretty exciting. And not only that, but also just kind of hoisting and taking things to construction sites as well. So there's going to be a few different possibilities with that one that I could also see being pretty interesting. Skydiving, I think that's maybe going to be a bit of a novelty, along with things like banner towing as well. I think that is going to be a bit of a novelty. You'll probably play that once or twice and think, yeah, that was great. Didn't really do too much. I flew up into the air, I stayed level, and I let the jumpers jump out the back of the plane, and that was that. Or I towed the banner along the flight path that it asked me to, and I dropped it in a fairly decent location. So there's probably some good points to those, and I think it will still be interesting and good to try once or twice. But I don't see myself doing skydiving or the banner towing a whole lot, to be honest. I think agricultural aviation is something that might be quite interesting. I think looking at one of the preview interviews with the developer, I can't remember what his name is now. He was talking about how the agricultural aviation side of it was actually one of his favorite points. And I think for me, that could actually be quite interesting, because it's going to take quite a bit of precision, and also the plane or helicopter you're using is going to get lighter the further you get into the flight, the more of the crop dusting stuff that you're spraying out of the aircraft, and that might just make it a little bit more challenging. But also, you're going to have to be flying pretty low and also getting the right areas of the field that you're doing as well. And I think that's actually going to show off quite a good bit of like the new satellite data and the AI that they're generating for crop fields and things like that as well. So I'm looking forward to being able to see how that looks, and actually in general just seeing how the new AI and satellite data has filtered together and how that looks and how nice it is up close. Really, it's not that far away as well, so hopefully we're gonna get some even better previews of it soon. Now, hot air balloons. Who doesn't want to try hot air balloons? I think it's going to be extremely boring, but I think it's also just, I guess it's a bit of a novelty, but it's probably going to be one of those things that I actually enjoy a little bit because it's kind of peaceful and hands off. So, like gliding in that sense, like gliding, I really like because there's no engines most of the time, and you're just kind of there and you're being able to stay in the air, and you don't need to do too much sometimes. And I think having like a hot air balloon that's just going to be, I mean, it's going to be pretty ridiculous, but at the same time, like you can just, fly up in the air and, maybe you want to go through a city on your hot air balloon and not crash into some buildings. That could have some good points to it, I guess. Probably not a whole lot. Now, one of the things that I haven't seen a lot about, and I'm actually quite interested in seeing how it works and what it's actually going to involve, is the scientific research side of it. Now, in one of the trailers, they do show them like flying about with a camera on the aircraft and looking towards a tornado. Now, that's pretty cool because who wouldn't want to fly into the tornado first and foremost? Probably the first thing I would do. But although they haven't given us too much detail about it, I guess I can only speculate. But what I would expect is potentially hurricane hunting. The people that from NOAA that fly into the hurricane to measure the wind speeds and drop probes and things like that. That's something that could potentially be pretty interesting, and you're going to get a lot of that turbulence, and that's going to be pretty challenging. Now, that's definitely something I want to try if that is one of the mission types. Now, they haven't really given a whole lot of detail about it, and again, I can only speculate on what it would involve, but surely it must be something like that. It's going to be probably to do with a lot of weather related scientific research. Maybe there's other things like, transporting people to like check out fishing sites or things like that, or geological areas, volcanoes, maybe. Could be something like that. Don't know for sure, but I'm really interested to see what they've actually done with that and how that's going to actually work. So, probably something I want to try and get into as early on as possible. The airship's another one of those things where it's like a hot air balloon, but it has engines that can take it a little bit further. Flight seeing, probably. Again, probably not a whole lot to it. It's pretty relaxed, more than likely. It's not going to be that exciting, to be honest. Air racing, though, I think is something that will probably be fairly enjoyable. I think everybody's done some of the air racing at some point, or you've maybe done some of the challenge modes. They're like for Flight Simulator 2024, they had in the alpha test, they had the low flying missions. So I think that'll be pretty cool to try and go on the leaderboards and try and beat all your friends and things as well. So definitely looking to give that a try, and obviously they're going to rotate in and out, and there's going to be new ones every so often as well. Could be pretty interesting. I think we've covered pretty much everything. There's like different variations of transport, like industrial cargo transport, remote cargo. There's different types of travel, or like rather than just delivering a plane, you're doing VIP charter services. So these things are all going to be pretty similar, but also I think could be quite interesting. Experimental flight, though, is something I'm not quite sure what that really involves. Is that just flying like the Jetson and the EV tall aircraft potentially? But how does that factor into the career mode is what I want to know. So I do have a lot of questions, and I hope that they're going to be answered very soon, at least maybe before they release the sim, they're maybe going to give us a little bit more of an idea on how these individual mission types work, because I think they've been fairly tight-lipped about how some of them are going to work. Now, that's just my thoughts. Maybe you think or feel differently around how that is going to look. But again, we can only really speculate with most of this right now up until the point where the Sim's fully released and we have access to all of the information and we can start to work out what does what and what you can and can't do. Now, must say, I am very, very excited for this simulator. I can't wait for it. Not just the career mode, but the free flight I think is going to be so much better as well. Also, the world photographer mode might be interesting as well. Now, I think that probably about wraps it up. I don't think there's anything else really I can go over at this stage, but I'd like to know what everyone else thinks and how much you're looking forward to the sim, what you're looking forward to doing first, how you think about or how you feel about career mode as well. But look, thank you very much for watching the video. Remember to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. And remember, and if you have any comments, share them down below as well. Now, I will see you in the next video. Hope you have a great day. Take care and bye.